Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and I'm going to open up one of the more contentious debates in the tool community. So if you comment on this, which I would like to know your opinion, please try to keep it respectful and clean, because I know this is kind of a hot topic for a lot of people. And that has to do with, if you're using one of these locking bit holders, do you want the retaining collar to push to release or to pull to release? So there are two choices, push and pull. And Milwaukee has chosen on most of their stuff to have kind of a pulling one at the tool. But what happens when you're further down the barrel? And there are differences between them. So the two I'm going to compare. This is the 3-inch universal quick lock from Milwaukee. This guy here, the part number is 48281000. It's an ideal size. It turns a lot of things. You put it in a regular drill. You can use it as a slight extension. Lots of reasons. But this one here is what they're calling the shockwave locking bit holder. This one has the push, and it's impact rated. This is part number 48324531. You know, when it's slightly shorter at only 2 7/8 inches. So one of the reasons that you may want a push or a pull has to do with the use of spade bits or anything into the wall. I can show you on both of these. Whereas if you are inside something and there's a chance that you may hit the retaining collar. So this could be a bad one. Let's say you've drilled a hole through a wall or whatever, your piece of wood, and as you're pulling this back out, this catches and releases the bit. And that's one of the things, if you look at the operation of this guy, you can actually push that up, and now the bit, it's actually held in with a little magnet there, but the bit could come out. In fact, you have to push it a little bit further to lock it in, just like that. So if you are pulling a drill bit out of a wall, and this happens to catch and release, and then your drill bit, you catch a little bit on the edge, suddenly your drill bit's now in between the walls. You're going to have to cut a hole at the base to pull it out. And that can happen a lot easier with spade bits, especially the wider they are. It's very hard to line them back up so they fit. You can, you know, catch them on things, but in that case, if this hooks and then this hooks, this finally just tosses it out. This, on the other hand, this quick lock that you have to pull will not do that. Now, obviously, you could say, well, what if you're pushing it in and you release it? Well, first, this doesn't have the release that easily stays on. And you're pushing. So you're already going in the opposite direction of the release. So you can pull on it, you can hit anywhere on this, and it's not going to release that bit. So if you're doing drilling, this is really handy. However, this is also really handy for changing, especially one-handed, because I can pop that up. Did you catch that? You know, if this is in my tool and I've got one hand and I'm holding my work piece or something and I could come up there, I have just released the bit. So I can literally pull it out with one hand. Right, like that. Let me do this so you can see it here. So once this is seated, as soon as I pop that, this pops out. As soon as I release the collar, and then it locks back in. So sometimes it's a little bit easier that way. However, there is a lot more play in this design. You see that? I don't know if that has to do with the impact design or what. And there is a magnet in there, so it can hold things a little bit differently than the non-magnetic one. However, if you put the bit in this guy here and push it down, it locks really tight. There is zero play in this thing unless I hold it back, you know, just let this collar release. And of course I have to hold it back. Some people, you know, you can easily pull just like that, just push and pull. It kind of depends on what you're using. Some things might be easier than others depending on how much you're grabbing. If you have gloves on, it might be a little bit different story. So anyway, there they are. You've got the push and the pull. Otherwise, functionally, they're very similar. This one's got a lot more girth, so if you're trying to do tiny things, you know, you're going to feel that. But they are both quite handy. Now, what do other people do? Well, Diablo has got a big pull here. Again, that's not going to lose a spade bit in a wall. DeWalt, and I've had a few different DeWalts. This one's also the pull on this long guy here. What about, this is a Vera. This is a push. on this flexible screwdriver. That's what they're using there. And then Milwaukee sells all kinds of different lengths of these things. A lot of them are in, if you pop something in there, you can see they're in the push because they are impact rated. So there's something going on there. But anyway, which do you like? Which do you use? Do you have a preference? Do you have a tool that is reversed? That you actually push it to get the bit in. Kind of interesting to see. There's obviously still reasons and designs for all of these different things, but it's kind of fun to play with them, to think, gosh, why did they design it that way? What's behind that? It's a lot easier to use if you're swapping bits a lot faster, different kinds, but you could lose that in the wall too, or stuck in the workpiece too. It doesn't have to be a wall and a drill bit. It could be anything where you just accidentally bump that and it's released, and now things fall out. So anyway, let me know which one you prefer. Let me know which one you use. Do you use both? And if you have any stories about how you might have lost tools. I know people have. They've shared them in other videos where they dropped bits, drill bits, driving bits into places simply because the collar released. Anyway, there it is. Let me know your thoughts. And with that, Doc out.